Oh, it's time. Time to get radical.
Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to Radical Comment of the Week for July 7th through the 13th. These are the very best comments from that time period. We have 3 almost honorable mentions coming to us from Arioka, Art Bell, and P.O. Box Christmas. The first honorable mention comes to us from Ben Kaiser. Curious what your thoughts are on Smash JT's recent video about how he is going to start deleting videos if they don't get 1,000 viewers in a specific time frame. He really wants to make it as a full-time YouTuber, but in all honesty, like some of the comments below state, you basically have a better shot at winning the lottery than doing that. People like Wood, Rich, and MGR got into YouTube when it was still young and you could amass a bunch of subscribers easily. That's why they all likely make enough to get by, even if they still e-beg and do the other tricks in the book. Now, there are hundreds upon hundreds of YouTubers talking video games, and most of them follow the exact same formula. Googling Nintendo Switch, PS4, Xbox, and rereading stories almost verbatim. And the insane thing is, there are many who think they can quit their jobs to do this full time. What are they smoking? You know what YouTube wants now? They want Brie Larson and Hollywood celebrities like that. That's why they're pushing them and promoting them. If you're still trying to make this a full-time job and you have less than 100,000 subscribers, give it up. Do it as a hobby and get a full-time job with a constant salary and benefits. Thank you, Ben Kaiser. The next honorable mention comes to us from Heavy Metal Gamer Show. His second video, I think also talking about Smash JT, he doubled down defending this BS too. The sad part? People in his comments lick his ass and are fine with it. That is completely sad and pathetic. He did comment on my video, but all he could go on about was last Friday on Twitter over on Overthink Gaming's tweet about Wood. I said something about Wood being a child groomer as a crude joke. Some dude started complaining about what I said, saying how horrible I am. Then Jeff came on and told me what I said was bad, and how Wood can use it against everyone critical of him, etc. Then he blocked me after I said, oh, so I shouldn't joke, and stick to him being a groomer. Let me know, mighty Smash JT. Because I'm a smart-ass prick, I get blocked from him, laugh out loud. But 5 hours before, he tweeted saying this, and I quote, "Concern comes in when children are being manipulated for a monetary chance at attention. Now a child groomer manipulates children in some way, shape, or form." Basically, he is calling Wood a groomer where I was being a shit and making a joke. Now, he made his comment about all of that, but wouldn't go on about the 90% of my video where I called him out on his BS with his viewers/subs. So I asked, and all he could say was, "Best of luck to you." He couldn't explain anything. This was after I commented on his first video, but he doesn't have to explain to me why he is doing it until I apologize what I said about Wood. Why should I apologize to a scumbag like Jeff? Why should I apologize for a crude joke? Screw that, laugh out loud. To be quite honest, I think he is out of work and lost his job. Someone brought that up to me in an IM conversation on Facebook. Remember how he used to say he doesn't care about YouTube, but now all of a sudden he does? Yeah, something is real fishy. Thank you, Heavy Metal Gamer Show. And the third and final honorable mention is actually a game review of The Last of Us 2 from Lawrence Dagstein. Lawrence Dagstein says, "Here is my honest written review of The Last of Us 2. Spoilers ahead, about 1,100 words." Oh, man. My review of The Last of Us 2. I passed the game in 28 plus hours, playing both as Ellie and Abby, and cracked open all the safes and found all collectibles. You can find my archive streams in the playlist section of my YouTube channel. I'm not going to try and sugarcoat this review. This game is just not all that good. It's an average game. Just a little above average. And I'm going to tell you my reasons why. First, the writing is just not there. As a writer of 23 years, I notice these things. Story is important. It is integral. It could best be said that The Last of Us 2 is a revenge story, something in the vein of No Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance. A revenge story turned into a rather grim tale of redemption. It is the most visceral, violent revenge story I have ever played in terms of a video game, but the revenge factor is a bit silly and unjustified at times. The survival horror elements, such as abandoned undergrounds and apartment buildings, filled with shamblers and clickers, are absolutely stunning. Don't get me wrong, I was on the edge of my seat. The remains of post-apocalyptic Seattle are a wonder to look at, and Ellie's adventure through this Washington city with Dina is nothing short of intense. You actually want to explore these old shops, loot backrooms and storefronts that once prospered with business before the infection. Don't get me started on the atrocious death of Joel. The man did not deserve what he got. I get it. The devs at Naughty Dog wanted him to die. But why not have Joel go to Seattle looking for Ellie and Dina and have him die honorably at the end? Have him go out with some shred of dignity and respect. Joel was the pinnacle of this series, and he deserves a better swan song. If I was writing this story, Ellie and Dina would have gone to Seattle to learn the truth of why Ellie was not sacrificed in the first game. The game that resonated with most of us here. I wonder if the developers bit off The Walking Dead had Abby give Joel the Negan treatment for shock value. It sure seemed that way, and we all know how that worked out for The Walking Dead from thereafter. I had no problem with the LGBTQ plus GL7XYZ elements. I enjoyed Dina. She made one hell of an NPC character when in bind, and I like the dynamic between her and Ellie. How their relationship flowed with their portion of the storyline. I also like how Joel, a father figure to Ellie, accepted her for her sexual preferences. But the story became, shall we say, complicated at times. One might say there were areas that were convoluted, some things were just unnecessary to the overall plot, and other stuff just left me scratching my head. For example, Dina is pregnant with some Asian man's baby, yet she is gay. So then she is bisexual? Can't she just be gay? Why complicate things? Next, Dina is in a subway station underground filled with spores, and is about to take her mask off. Just 5 minutes later, in the theater, Dina becomes slightly ill and tells Ellie she is pregnant. So you're pregnant. So what are you doing in a spore-filled subway station, and why would you take your mask off and kill yourself and the baby? Page 2. The enemy AI was terrible at times too. Whenever I hid, an enemy somehow magically appeared behind me with a gun without me hearing them. And you can't just spin around and get a shot off on them without getting hit. The game ran at 60 frames a second, but it was not without its fair share of glitches. For example, in the rail yards I tried to jump on a train crate, but the game made me jump onto a tree instead. I was stuck in the tree, literally, and I had to start my game over. Next, after Ellie's 3 days in Seattle ended, we were left with a confrontation and a cliffhanger. You now play the same 3 days in Seattle, but in other parts of the city as Abby, an antagonist of the game. Honestly, I didn't care about Abby. I didn't care about the WLF, Washington Liberation Front, and did not enjoy her gameplay whatsoever. For those of you wondering, the WLF is basically the Children of the Fireflies in this game. Now that I think about it, I think Abby got a little bit more screen time than Ellie. There's one scene where Abby had sex with Owen. Was Owen her brother? Ooh. Ew. And that makes me think about, like, you know that scene in Joe Dirt when he finds out it's his cousin and he gets more interested, I think, right? It's a funny movie, Joe Dirt. And what are the two Chinese kids, Yara and Lev, who look like Vietnamese refugees, doing in a future Seattle? Why is Naughty Dog promoting PC culture, but at the same time unabashed stereotyping Asians? Doesn't make sense. And there's a cult in post-apocalyptic Washington? I want Ellie and Dina, not Abby, not Yara or Lev, not cultist on a hidden island. And what is an island that looks like Southeast Asia doing off the coast of Seattle? There's one scene where Abby has to fight a repulsive boss in a basement of the hospital to get surgical supplies for Yara. Okay, that boss was cool. But then an hour after Yara's arm is amputated, she is killed. Oh well, the boss fights to save Yara was a waste of time. All for nothing. Way to go, writing team. Thanks for being idiots and playing this nonsense storyline of a game. See where I'm going with this? Also, at one point, Owen wanted to live and stay in the aquarium. Seattle, day 3, he is already fixing the boat to get out of there. After I was done playing as Ellie, I wanted the game to just end. It dragged on and on. Listen, I get it. Abby's story parallels Ellie's. Abby's father, the revenge, the other person's point of view, and vice versa. But come on, if anything, the gameplay was very cliche and similar to Resident Evil Revelations 2, where you can play as Claire Redfield first, then Barry Burton later. Barry Burton has a little girl companion who helps him see invisible umbrella monsters. Think of Barry Burton and this little girl as Abby and Lev. Long story short, I had no problem with the PC culture stuff in the game. My problem was with the story itself. So many inconsistencies, so many complications, and I didn't care about Abby or Yar or Lev. And even now the game is over, I still don't care about Abby, Yar, or Lev. I care about Ellie. Ellie is the game. In all honesty, this game should have belonged to Ellie, and only Ellie. It dragged on and on. All the way 2 years later to Santa Barbara. When we didn't see Santa Barbara, Ellie should have raised a family with Dina, lived happily ever after, end of story. I really wish Naughty Dog would have gone in a different creative direction with this game. Lack of doing so results in a subpar gaming experience, minus the survival horror elements, of course, which makes the game an average title. On a scale of 1 to 10, I give this game a 6, and that's being generous. Generous. Thank you, Lawrence at Axe9, and thank you to the other honorable mentions. But now we get to the medal ceremony. And now it's time for the medal ceremony. Starting out with the bronze medal, it's Shenana Tim's. The demonetization talk is tedious at best. I've heard YouTubers complain, I can't say such and such or I'll get demonetized. Which is bizarre because, as you said, make the video you want, let it be demonetized, and then make another more acceptable video. It's really not that difficult to grasp. I think back to John Coltrane's legendary final run of albums. He, knowing both his audience and where his heart was at, crafted a special contract with his label. He'd release 2 albums per year. One album would be in line with Giant Steps, his mass market stuff, and keep his regular audience and thus his record company happy, and he'd be allowed to release an artist album, his mind-blowing cosmic stuff, where he pushed into free jazz. One album to sell units, one album to express his soul. YouTube makes this easier. Just start 2 separate channels, one off the cuff with nothing ventured, nothing earned, and another to make money, which is essentially akin to what you've established, a stable income along with a side hobby to do whatever you want. Hell, let's go nuts. Most of these guys have said codependent marks that send them money anyways, so just talk freely in the videos. If during the 10-minute editing process they notice they might have said something off-brand, relax. Most of these guys, realizing their channels are as big as their niche market allows, stop trying to get new fans, and instead take the lazy road by creating a new channel. So just make an unfiltered version of the video along with the exact same video, except this one has a bleep. And tell your viewers at the start that the unfiltered one will make no money, so please right now scroll down to the comments and right-click the clean video. Have it run the background unobstructed. I mean, if these marks are willing to send them money, surely they'd be willing to do the cheaper option of right-clicking something. Yeah, all the demonetization talk, you see this from a lot of channels. And you know, I can tell you from experience, a lot of them are fucking lying to you. Oh, I said an F word. Here's the thing. Any channel that tells you their videos are getting demonetized because they let out a curse word, currently at the end of 2020, they are fucking lying. Now, this one might get demonetized, and I'll tell you why. It's weird, right? My comment of the week's, maybe there's something in the logo, the gold logo, or maybe it's something in comment of the week. A lot of these comment of the weeks, they do get demonetized. I don't know if it's the word comment. I'm not sure. It's weird, right? Some of them don't, some of them do. But more often than not, these at least start out with a yellow, which is the limited, which is basically, you know, you get nothing for the ad revenue. But the thing is, I don't care that much about it personally because, number one, I don't have all my eggs in the YouTube basket. Like, I tell people, and a lot of people don't believe me, I'm like, hey, this is just a side hobby. This is just a side hobby for me. Like, you know, revenue or not, it wouldn't matter. I'd still be here. I'd still be here for my audience because I'm very thankful to have an audience that comes by. And as that one guy said, hey, it's kind of entertaining to hear you yap about stuff. You know, that's never going to get old. It's always going to be awesome when I see new people come to the channel and say, hey, Rick, you know, can you upload this? I'm like, thanks for asking. Sure, I'll try. You know, so there's that aspect of it that is just fucking awesome. It's just fucking awesome. And I think as some channels become bigger and bigger and bigger, I think they have no self-awareness to realize that People don't want to hear you fucking complain about being demonetized, you twats. Think back on RGT85 last year when he was complaining about his Mortal Kombat 11 upload being demonetized. No shit, Sherlock. That's the one aspect I don't like about it is if you're just be honest about it. Like, don't make a big fucking deal around like one of your uploads getting demonetized if, I don't know, man. If you got like fatalities in it, the system. Like, him more than anybody knows YouTube. But what's surprising this year is, like I said, they seem to be easing up on things. They seem to be easing up on things a whole lot. Now, you're still going to get some videos demonetized, like my radical jokes, the pleasure toy in the box. Okay, do you think it was factored in that I wouldn't upload that because it would get demonetized? No. I have an artistic creative vision on a channel, and when I upload things, I'm like, okay, that's a good upload. My audience is going to enjoy that, so I don't really give a fuck if it gets monetized or not. Like, I literally, generally don't care. And a lot of people find that hard to understand, but it would still be the same regardless of what size the channel would be. Because here's a solution. If, let's say, a lot of you YouTubers actually care about the money in the ad revenue, let's say you actually care about it, and, let's say you're unemployed, you don't have a job, and this is like the only way you put food on the table. Okay. The solution is, again, a lot of you unemployed YouTubers with lots of free time, upload separate fucking videos. Make a clean cut and a dirty cut or whatever you want to, and explain to your audience that, you don't have a job, you're unemployed and everything, and, you need YouTube to sustain you or whatever. Like, what I'm trying to say is just be honest about it. Don't be shady about it, and don't be one of these YouTubers that have these videos acting all fucking surprised that on a platform like YouTube, things are demonetized. But more often than not, like I said, they're lying to you. They're straight up lying to you because I'm proof positive. Look back on a lot of my rad responses. You see some ads on those, don't you? So one thing that I do... Who the fuck is that? Sorry about that. I lost my train of thought. Shit, sorry about that. But I'll just end it there. Because, I think it's a good spot, right? So thank you for that, Shenanigans Tims. Next up, and this was close. This is very close, razor thin margin between these two comments. The silver medal comes to us from Logic Cost. I could never reconcile working as a YouTube content creator exclusively over pursuing a normal career. One thing that becomes more obvious over time is work, experience, or lack thereof. Things that companies look for are a person's ability to work under supervision, their ability to contribute to larger projects, past work that has a position net effect on their company, not work that is exclusively for themselves, and what skills they have that can be vouched for by work references. It can work, but it's a calculated gamble. PewDiePie has obviously made it work, but the rules that he and everyone else started with are very different now that YouTube is transitioning to TV Lite in order to secure advertiser money to make YouTube somewhat profitable. Content creators are not really allowed to criticize public figures or others in the space because that's targeted harassment. They have to use non-copyrighted material or their work will be demonetized, either case by case wholesale. The opinions that they put out on YouTube not only have to be censored to a degree, especially if they designate their content as kid-friendly for YouTube bucks, but they also can't stray too far from their formula. You see, you can't even be yourself on YouTube because both YouTube and your audience of random strangers won't allow you to be an individual with diverse interest. You're a music channel and nothing else, or the algorithm punishes you. Your audience comes to your channel for gaming or commentary and nothing else they will leave. The lower your subscriber count, the lower you are placed in search, regardless of the effort, accuracy, quality of the work you make. YouTube freedom quickly becomes a cage the more skin you have in the game. I could go on. Are these good working conditions? Is there a transparent arbiter in case something goes wrong? Do creators have any legal recourse? In theory, maybe, but it's almost never exercised. Does YouTube pay into a creator's super annotation? That's big words here. Our pension fund, are creators insured? Does YouTube help when creators become depressed and burned out from doing their job I'm so burned out from doing my job. Oh, reporting out the tech news. Oh. Guess who that was? We know the answers to all these things. YouTube is not the place it once was. Now it's still the biggest place for hosting videos on the planet, but we have become inured to its ways like victims of Stockholm Syndrome. It's not a career. You can't look at the lifespan of your average big YouTube creator and say that's the length of an actual career. Whether it's the lure of money or the thought of being your own boss, it has always been a flight of fancy. YouTube is a place for hobbyists to make hobby videos of various quality and worth for strangers. It's not a career. Even if you are a one-person show and have had to learn lighting, editing, etc., once your YouTube career ends, you're saddled with a lack of real work experience and online infamy, neither of which are attractive to a company, and you're not going to get a lot of money being a video editor. You have some that recognize and get out while they can. C-nanners comes to mind. Few and far between, we're long reached to the point on YouTube where longtime creators have reached to the point of irrelevancy and no longer command the clicks. Grace Helbig, anyone? Then you have those who try to ride the wave as long as possible with no backup in play, who fill that niche of not small but never big, the never-hads. Rich from Review Tech USA fills such a niche. Such YouTubers have had to subsist off of stranger donations, Patreon, etc., to survive, finding new ways to monetize at an ever-increasing cost to their dignity, turning themselves into caricatures of salespeople shilling the worst quiche in order to get a cut of the money and survive another day. Dollar Shave Club? Ridge Wallet? What a fulfilling career path. Pewd's career will be roughly 8 to 9 years old as of right now. In the grand scheme of life, that is nothing. He's made millions, but the average YouTuber? That's my last point. Being a YouTuber does not equal receiving the same amount of money for your work/efforts. You are waiting virtual tables, crawling on your knees to pick up the pennies that your customer's audience toss on the ground as gratuity for your free food. YouTube as a side hobby? Do it. Power to you. Make a career out of it. Don't sabotage your life. You know, I couldn't imagine being on a push to make YouTube a full-time thing, to make it a career. There's other people, I think Smash AT come to mind, as being one of those people kind of that, and you could say maybe he got an unfair shake. You know, as much as I've criticized him in the past, I'll say that, you know, his channel is actually, you know, better than some of these other million-plus subscribers. But, you know, at the same token, what puts a lot of people off about someone like Smashed AT is it's clearly obvious that they really don't give a shit about their audience. You know, to me, it's like selling out your audience. You know, like, let's say, what would happen if I sold out? People come by and they joke and like, hey, Rick, when are you going to sell out? Is it going to be at 5K? Is it going to be at 6K, 10K? And I said probably 10K. That's what I'm going to sell out. That's what I'm going to be doing, the Ridge Wallet shit. You know, I just got to get more people coming to the channel and then I can sell out and make it a career. How fucking silly would that be? You know, people come by and they say, Rick, you're so hateful. You're so hateful. I'm like, no, I'm just somebody speaking the truth. I'm being fucking honest. A lot of you YouTube losers out there thinking you're going to be the next PewDiePie. You know, it's just, what do you say to somebody to intervene? And like what you said here towards the end, such YouTubers have had to subsist off of stranger donations to survive, finding new ways to monetize at the ever-increasing cost to their dignity. Let me tell you about dignity, personal dignity, okay? I would almost pity a lot of these YouTubers that have done that if they weren't taking stranger donations. All right, I would almost pity a lot of these YouTubers that do that. Dignity is a very important thing, especially if you're a man. I'm seeing grown men begging online for donations. What the fuck? You know what they should beg for? They should beg for a job application. Something. Do anything other than begging online for fucking money from other people that are working hard, that just want to stop by your channel and enjoy your content. You know? And logic costs, as I've always said before, people that come to your channel should not be giving you money and donations for your hobby videos. I haven't said that in a couple weeks, so I just wanted to slip that in here. Thank you, Logic Cost. And the shiny, shiny gold medal, it comes to us today from RPG Tall Tales. My reply to a comment on this vid got me riled up. I'm more mad at myself for not saying things or becoming a YouTuber to create a community and not a following, although I also realize people seeing my comment would have been up to wood and would have difficulty getting my subscribers, as I'm not very social in public or apps. This is why I'm saying this now. I guess you're talking about a comment you left on Wood's channel or here? I'm not sure. It has been 3 months, so forgive me. Very much I can relate to Wood. My mom was a hoarder, and my dad was constantly abusing her for this. It went on until he died when I was 16. This is why I never had friends until 12, and still couldn't invite them. I was also in the middle part of my cancer treatment, which started when I was 10. On the subject of him asking for gifts on his birthday, I've had about half of my life of birthday parties and gifts, I'm 27, and all were outside of the house. But despite of my life, I'm not hounding people to give me stuff, and I actually tell people no and not sit there with a smile repeating the same thing over and over. Instead of smiling, I get mad. Then if I had no choice but to accept, then I ended up doing or getting something in return. In my experience of reading people, myself included, and studying how they act from various ages and upbringing, I've realized the issue that people who donate to people like him have. For kids, it's because they want a role model or someone that has the same interest as them, and oftentimes that figure is male, and giving to him is like a gift to a dad. My reasoning for this is that as a kid, I looked up to my oldest brother because of how my father was, and often ate when he ate and did what he did, and he was a hardcore old school gamer, so I ended up playing games like Ninja Gaiden, which is where the 8-bit intro comes from. So maybe the kids don't have someone to play with or a figure in their life that plays or played games. This can be more than likely seen in kids who have divorced, separated, or have abusive parents, as most gamers know that it's a temporary escape from reality from their life. Though for some, it's also because their parents ignore them or have to work instead. For teens, or young adolescents, they don't have friends or friends that play in the same console and games. My reason is often most friends in my group, even in general, start talking and hanging out more when they are playing the same game. This can be seen with Call of Duty or Fortnite or any popular game, as people who can't find anyone to play with will jump to a game that is popular. For adults who need validation or a thank you, and people who don't have kids, it is a surrogate for the real thing. My reason is that I often find myself giving things or helping my 2 nephews who are the sons of the same brother, and I don't have kids for financial reasons. This old lady my mom knew would often treat her and give things to her even though she wasn't related. Her own children barely came to see her, and she was upset when my mom died. If not these reasons, then it's for info, because hardly anyone lists out games and includes niche indie guides for the Switch, so most people probably use him for the info. There's more to this, but I'd have to go into things that are changing how family and human nature works. The short version is that people are not just disconnecting from family or home life anymore, they are destroying each other's, their own, and even those they know. This is a very deep comment that delves into a lot of different topics here. But let's stick to role models. And what you talk about, role models. I look at YouTubers sometimes, like a Woodhawker. And I think Heavy Metal Gamer Show brought up this, and ironically, Smash JT brought it up, but then I don't really understand the situation there. How one person can bring something up, and then the other person says, hey, watch out, people will use that against you. Grooming. Okay? There's a nature, there's an element to it, and not just on Woodhawker, but let's say if you are a childish YouTuber. If you are a childish YouTuber that, and I know this is probably deviating from your comment, and it's a great comment. I definitely can't go into, like I said, a lot of the different themes there. I could, but this thing would be probably an hour long. Okay. Let's stick to this role models. The question is someone like a Woodhawker trying to be a role model, or is he grooming, right? Because we know this. We know one thing. He is playing a fake character. He is playing a fake character because you've seen him off camera and how he actually acts, and you've seen him on the videos. He is playing a fake character to appeal to primarily children. Just so happens, I know there's a lot of adults with the Nintendo Switch, but it just so happens a giant part of Nintendo's audience is kids kids that play the Switch, kids that collect, a lot of these amiibos. Not saying that adults can't, but I'm just saying there's a lot of kids that do it. And I would argue that there's more children that are drawn to a typical Woodhawker video than adults. Him acting like a fucking Muppet with the Bang energy drinks. Who do you think he's appealing to? Who do you think he wants his audience to be? Plain and simple, he would prefer his audience be the young ones. That's just the nature of his channel. Back when I uploaded something about Woodhawker, I think in 2019, I believe, I would notice this. A lot of people that were coming to the channel, they just seemed younger. I could tell in their comments they seemed younger. If you come to my channel, you could tell people, they seem like adults because the vast majority of my audience here is adults. Okay? If I wanted children to come to the channel, then I would act like, or, I would use a fucking fake voice. Right? All right? Now, some of you might say, well, Rick, what about all the channels out there that are adults that, just want to play a character or have like a very friendly type channel? I'm not saying specifically that there's anything wrong with that necessarily. But what's fucked up about Woodhawker is, like I said last year, when he got those gifts from children in the P.O. box, then it all kind of comes together. It all comes together. You can make an argument that he is grooming the young ones to donate gifts to him. From his character, from who is created, from his cartoonish type stuff, you could make a solid argument that he is grooming the most vulnerable of our populace to donate things to him. And that's where the P.O. Box comes into play. That's where it comes into play. But talking about role models, do you think Woodhawker is a good role model